Aran Knitting Masterclass. I'm going to show you in this video a little bit about necklines for our drop shoulder or modified drop shoulder sweater. So these might be here, they might not, and then I'll show you quickly on how a saddle shoulder affects all of this. You can do all the shaping things I'm showing you in these videos on a saddle shoulder as well as on a drop shoulder or modified drop shoulder. So on a regular drop shoulder, the neck for a crew neck is about 1/3 of the width of the body. And you bind off some stitches here, then you decrease on the sides, and the patterns or recipes for your sweater will tell you how to do that. Now, if you don't want a crew neck, if you want a scoop neck, you just do the shaping lower down and make the neck about the same width, or if you want a little wider. Don't make it too wide or you'll end up with those sweaters that fall off your shoulders like in the 1970s dance movies. Okay, so crew neck and scoop neck about the same. I also want to show you a V-neck, because V-neck is really cool for cable designs in my opinion. So a V-neck would come like this, usually even a little even lower than the scoop neck. You start by binding off 1 or 2 stitches and then you decrease along there. But what say you had a cable design running down the center, and then another cable over here. These can be any kind of cables. I'm just doodling these little squiggles. And so when you start decreasing, normally you would just decrease until you didn't have enough stitches for these cables, and then up here in this area you would end up with stockinette stitch because you wouldn't have enough stitches to make your cables. And that looks a little boring on a V-neck. So what you can do is, instead of decreasing right on the edge of the neckline, you can do decreases outside of this cable, one of the cables there, and then that cable will continue up the sides of your neckline. So remember, instead of decreasing right at the neckline, do your decreases on the other side of the cable, and it will go up on the sides of the neckline, and it's really interesting and a fun design element. Now, what if we have a cardigan? A couple things to think about if we have a cardigan. One is, everything I said in all those other videos about shaping is the same. One thing that happens though is, if your sweater is, say, 100 stitches wide, and you cut your front, or make your 2 fronts 50 stitches each, right? Then when you add your button band, you're going to be adding 1 inch or 1.5 inches to the front of the sweater, which is fine for a lot of us because, like we said, we have more room in the front, and so we don't mind that. But if you want to not add extra width to the actual cardigan from the button band, you need to cast on, say, in this example, 43 stitches or 47 stitches. You would have to figure it out with your gauge, but let's just average it out to 45 stitches on each side, and then in that middle you would not reach together. Your fronts wouldn't match up, and your button band would go in there. Now, you can do a combination of all those things, because if you pick up and do a ribbed button band, usually it's 1 inch to 1.5 inches wide. But you could also do I-cord around the edge of your sweater opening, which doesn't take up much space, and an I-cord can have built-in I-cord button loops, so you're not adding a lot to the front opening. You can also put a zipper in where you don't need any bands at all if you don't want them. So lots of options there, but just consider what you're doing for your sweater opening and how it's going to affect the size of your sweater. So here we talked about necklines and cardigan fronts. Okay, so hope those are helpful, and in this email that I'm sending with these, you'll also find a handout and instructions for working some of these specific things that are not included in my ethnic knitting exploration book because I focused on the traditional shaping without these extra fit elements. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.